So, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our third part of the INTA meeting of this week. And I'm happy that we can now discuss a little bit intensively the trade policy of the European Union. I'm glad that our Commissioner Maroš Šefčovič is here with us. Maroš, welcome to our meeting, and thanks a lot for having the opportunity to discuss with you for 2 hours. So we have, I guess, a lot of remarks and questions, because since our last structural dialogue, which took place on the 20th of March 2025, so a long time ago, I guess the world of trade has changed a little bit. And this roller coaster from the United States, specifically also this Greenland operation and some others, but also the aggressive position of China in some elements and some trade policy legislation. We have finished the GSP, for example, and also we concluded some trade agreements. So I guess there's a big change between March 2025 and now. And therefore, I'm really happy that you are here and that you will give us now an input regarding your perspective and also a little bit what the plan of the Commission for the next year is. And I give immediately the floor to you for around about 15 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Chair, dear Bernd, honourable members, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, it's a pleasure to be here in front of the European Parliament Committee on International Trade for this structured dialogue. I even wouldn't feel that it was the year since we've met, because the time been so dynamic and so many things that has happened. And I really would like to start by thanking you for working together on what I would describe turbocharged trade policy agenda of the European Union. So indeed, there is a lot of things to discuss, because international trade continues to lie at the epicenter of Europe's competitiveness and ability to act on geopolitical stage. Our world-leading network of free trade agreements, our work to open new markets, and our support for fair and rules-based trade all help us defend European interests in this challenging world. Today's global trade landscape is fast-moving, and I would like to use this opportunity to provide a brief overview of where we stand on various files from my point of view. First, as you just suggested, dear Chair, as regards the United States, our #1 trading partner, we always knew our relationship would require careful management. We have faced challenges recently, but through our firm and cool-headed approach with unity and continuous engagement, we have moved forward. The deal concluded in July last year, and the joint statement have restored to a great extent much-needed certainty and stability. This was of a key importance for our businesses and for our workers, and I would say also for the entire global trading system. Last Friday, the US Supreme Court ruled that the President cannot impose tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEPA. In response, President Trump enacted temporary import surcharge of 10% on top of existing most favored nation duties until 24th of July, while maintaining exemptions on important sectors like aircraft, pharmaceutical, and energy products. 232 tariffs on cars, steel, and aluminium, trucks, lumber remain unaffected. Since the ruling, I have been in constant touch with my counterparts, and they both reassured me they stand by the deal with the European Union. Both reassured me they stand by the deal with the European Union. The US Trade Representative Jameson Greer has also said this publicly. At the same time, we are discussing the ways to address the issue of steel and aluminium derivatives by making it more practical and productive, and I hope we can find solutions in this matter very soon. As them, we must also remain committed to our deal. I understand your decision to delay this morning's votes on the relevant regulations, but it is imperative we keep the process moving forward in implementing our commitments under joint statement. A vote in plenary in March must remain our target, under the condition, of course, that we get more clarity from the United States. There are also other positive strands of cooperation emerging with the US. For instance, we are negotiating our bilateral memorandum of understanding on the critical raw minerals and working on plurilateral initiative on critical raw minerals supply chains. So we'll continue to engage at all levels. Our strategy here is clear. We stay united, composed, committed to our deal, while expanding our network of trade agreements with other trading partners, and I will continue seeking the clarity we need and informing you transparently as I have done so far. Turning to China, where we are seeing an acceleration and strengthening of trends of concerns to us. First, China's ever-growing dominance in key sectors, including those at the higher end of the value chain. China's manufacturing output reportedly already matches that of the EU and US combined, with a global share of 30% and growing. Second, an increasing imbalance in our bilateral trade, with the EU's trade deficit with China reaching 360 billion euros in 2025. Third, the decreasing market share of EU companies in China, with their exports and investments in third countries being displaced by their Chinese competitors. Fourth, China's ability to use our dependencies in strategic sectors as evidenced by the imposition of export controls in the critical raw materials sector by Beijing in the recent years. And our response continues to be threefold. We continue to engage with the Chinese side, and here too I'm in constant touch with my counterpart, Minister Wang Wentao. We are currently discussing prospects for a high-level engagement this year, while keeping in mind that any such engagement should be results-driven. Furthermore, we should look into more effective and efficient autonomous trade and industrial action where merited as per the economic security strategy. Lastly, we must accelerate diversification through new free trade agreements and deeper partnerships and like-minded partners. We need these countries to effectively break off our dependencies on China and open new trade and investment possibilities for our companies, and I will come to this point a little bit later on. The economic security strategy, which we published in December, reflects a paradigm shift, moving to a more proactive and targeted use of our toolbox. It also outlines the urgency of the EU, its member states, and importantly, industry, to systematically factor in a security premium, to reduce vulnerabilities and enhance our overall security. This reinforced approach is designed to ensure that the EU remains competitive and able to secure supply chains in the changing geopolitical landscape. Our work to diversify our trade is another key element of this effort and is yielding much fruit. The deal with Mercosur region will create a unique regional bloc-to-bloc free trade area of over 700 million people. The required protections were built into the deal with the passing of the bilateral safeguard regulation offering assurances to the farmers. I think Parliament's decision to refer the deal to the ECJ was unfortunate, not least because it may delay parliamentary scrutiny, your scrutiny, for up to 2 years. The Commission and myself personally remain committed to seeing Mercosur ratified and implemented quickly. Every year we lose is a year of lost trade, lost jobs and lost economic opportunities that we badly need for our competitiveness and prosperity. Let me be specific. Between 2021 and 2025, the EU would have benefited from extra 183 billion euros in exports and 291 billion euros in GDP if the agreement had been in force. I hope that very soon I will bring to your table for a final process of signature and ratification free trade agreement with Mexico. If you allow me to continue on the recently agreed FTA with India, which will help us to open up the world's fourth largest economy, traditionally marked by high tariffs and significant non-tariff barriers to the EU. The deal liberalizes 97% of our trade, 90% would go to zero, with 4 billion euros per year in tariff savings. It opens huge opportunities to expand trade that is currently commercially unattainable. In addition, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with Indonesia offers EU exporters the chance to expand and find new markets, liberalizing 98% of trade with the largest economy in Southeast Asia. Looking ahead, talks with Australia are ongoing. I hosted my Australian counterpart earlier this month, and Commissioner Hansen joined us to discuss the most sensitive agricultural elements of the proposed deal. We were able to make good overall progress, and further technical work is now underway to bridge the remaining divergences. Talks with the Philippines are also advancing, and we hope that it may be possible to conclude still this year. The latest round with Thailand was of a more technical nature given the recent elections there, but we see a strong commitment from the Thai side to move forward. A round also took place last week with Malaysia as we look to exchange market access offers later this year. While a round earlier this month with the UAE has allowed for further exchanges in a number of important areas with a view to narrowing the differences on key outstanding issues. We also continue our work to forge closer relations with the CPTPP, as well as to diversify our offers to third countries through digital trade agreements, CFAs and CTIPs. Indeed, next week we will see the first government-to-business meeting in South Africa as part of the implementation of our first CTIP. The EU's active trade agenda also signals our firm commitment to rules-based trade at a time where these principles are under increasing pressure. With the World Trade Organization finding itself at the defining crossroads, we must work to prevent further erosion of the system. And this is precisely what we have done with our vision for a fundamentally reformed WTO, which we put forward in January ahead of the 14th Ministerial Conference in Cameroon in March. This is a long-term vision that aims for a system rooted in predictability, fairness and flexibility. And it's about a time we take a fresh look at the balance of rights and obligations agreed 30 years ago, which is no longer in tune with the global trade landscape of today. We are now in the process of establishing a key grouping of WTO members that wish to push for reform to see how best to move forward. Turning to steel. Our proposal to reduce steel quotas by 47%, to double the out-of-quota duty to 50%, and to strengthen traceability via the introduction of melt and pour requirement are all vital to protecting this strategically and economically important industry. I'm therefore very happy that yesterday I could have attended the first trilogue on the steel measure last night, and the Commission remains committed to facilitating a swift and smooth conclusion. If you allow me, I will finish by touching on the two other key pieces of legislation. First, I'm very pleased to see the vote earlier today in this committee in favour of the trilogue outcome of the FDI screening regulation. This is an important step towards further reinforced public order and scrutiny across the EU. And similarly, after protracted negotiations, we should all celebrate the conclusion of the new GSP framework, which underpins our trading relations with 65 countries across the globe. It was vital that we found a way forward to ensure continuity and predictability for these trading partners and for business. So, honourable members, as you can see, there is a lot happening in our joint work at the moment, and I am really grateful for the continuous cooperation on so many key files and for the permanent exchange of views and for your support in what was indeed extremely intense year in the global trade policies, but also in a European trade offensive. So I'm very much looking forward to your questions and to our debate. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Maroš. And now give the floor to the political groups. And Jürgen Borbam is the first for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Šefčovič, for your introduction. And let me start off by congratulating you on all the active negotiations that you both have concluded in the Commission and also are ongoing. It looks really promising, more promising than from a very long time. Maybe to say something on the Mercosur agreement, since you mentioned it as well. And I mean, there have been a lot of call for provisional application. EPP, of course, supports this. We know that business